may not harass women. You may know how to take rejection. The majority of men that most women deal with do not.
Yeah.
And you are accountable for that as well. Because I don't got time to figure out which white people are nice, which white people aren't racist, or da-da-da-da-da. I have to go on the actions of the group.
Right.
The group as a whole and the history of that group as a whole tells me that they are a danger to me and they are not to be trusted.
Right.
And if you can understand that as a black man and your stance towards white people, then you should absolutely be able to understand women's stance towards you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a war on you waged by women. Actually, the war get a little thicker when we start talking about it from the perspective of a woman and the greater society of racism and white supremacy being waged against black people, and then the patriarchal society being waged against women. So they have to deal with two elements. One of those elements we don't have to think about, and honestly, we perpetuate.
The first thing that kind of jumps out to me when I watched his podcast, because I didn't want to form my opinions based on just a clip, because I've been misclipped as well, right? I've been misunderstood and misrepresented by people who just viewed clips. So I wanted to watch the whole thing, and the first thing that stood out to me is like his podcast format is similar to Cam Newton's podcast on YouTube, right? It's him and I think his homeboy's name's Peggy, and it's really just it's like Cam Newton monologuing and then his co-host just like being a hype man or like tossing him softballs. And this, Eggs and Grits podcast is kind of similarly formatted. And I thought that was interesting. I'm curious why. I'm also curious why people are attracted to that frictionless, I think intellectually simple style of engagement. It's monologuing, without having to like defend it. It's just like it's like a curated echo chamber, right? And one of the things I wanted to curate with this channel, which is why I like to open up the streams after the introductions or even the beginning of it before I was doing streams, but I was interviewing people. It's like, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's get to a middle ground. Let's dissect the nuance. Let's just not talk in a way that makes me sound good or makes you sound good, right? But for whatever reason, I'm finding that this style of delivery, I think, especially amongst feministic-oriented individuals, is very popular. You have people like the dude with the dreads with color in it. What's his name? Can't remember his name off the top of my head. Or people like FD Signifier, for instance. I appreciate aspects of it, but I'm just curious about that piece. Another thing that stood out to me, he during a segment of his podcast, he talked about how, at the age of 27, he was on cocaine, right? So he comes from a certain lifestyle. He's an individual who has lived some life. And I think is speaking from that perspective, and I think is representing or prioritizing a certain subgroup of the Black community that, in my opinion, is overrepresented and harmfully so, right? I saw a clip actually of him talking to a Black woman, and she made a fantastic point. She said, we've made Black culture super popular that even our struggle seems like fun, or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. But some of the positions that he takes on, what's permissible as Black or female representation, and the celebration, the kind of just, in my opinion, just heavy-handed celebration of Black femininity, I think it's ultimately harmful. I think it leads to things like the statue in New York. I think it leads to, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie on Amazon Prime, G20. I think it leads to nonsense like that because it's counterintuitive. But like once you begin to deify a group of women, it's very hard to simultaneously advocate for their protection. Right? Like once we continue to push out media that shows, what's funny about it is like every movie that we've seen of a Black man being president, he's had to be saved by some white dude. When Jamie Foxx was president, the dude from 300, I think, had to save him. When Danny Glover was president, some other white dude had to save him. But the first movie that there's a Black female president, she's got to save everybody. Right. So I would rather a situation where our women get the privilege of being the damsel and our men get the privilege of living and dying for something noble, like protecting and providing for our women. But what's ironic or what's paradoxical is if we continue to deify our women as these gods, as these deities beyond reproach and overly capable, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, we're doing them a disservice. And I think that's a nuance that's missed during some of these monologues. Because I mean, the reality is, if you do get a good Black woman, there is very few things in the world better than that. Hey, if you've made it all the way to the end, please click that like and subscribe button. Also share this with somebody that you think would gain value from it. Click the thumbnail at the top if you want the full video. Click the thumbnail at the bottom if you want a video that's closely related to this. Again, like, share, subscribe. Appreciate you guys for watching. Check out some more of our content. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.